Hey guys, welcome back to Korean Careers Podcast. On today's episode, I had a chance to sit down and talk with Maggie Ballard. Maggie is an incredible AD. She's an assistant director that is based right here in Birmingham. Maggie has been a part of some incredible films, over 50 films that she's worked on over her career. And Maggie still to this day calls Alabama home. She's traveled all over. She's walked on red carpets in Beverly Hills, but yet she continues to come back to Birmingham and invest in the community and give back to the creative community specifically right here at home. I really am excited to share this conversation with you, and I really am honored that Maggie took the time to sit down and talk with me. Check it out. All right, Maggie Ballard. Thank you
That's it.
so
Yeah.
much for joining me today on Creating Careers Podcast. I'm really excited to talk with you and sort of learn a little bit of your story.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I know you're local to Birmingham. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's
And
correct.
but
Yeah.
yet you sort of work all over. It looks like you do a lot in Birmingham, or not Birmingham, but in Alabama. And then, but you've traveled all over. What's the farthest you've gone for work?
Los Angeles, probably.
Los Angeles. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you keep coming back? What
I
what
do.
keeps
Yeah.
bringing you back to Birmingham?
Well, it's home. I was born and raised in Hoover.
Hey guys, let me take just a moment to thank our sponsor, AmFirst. AmFirst is an incredible community credit union that is based right here in Birmingham and has been for over 90 years. Today, I really want to take just a moment and celebrate the investment in the creative community that AmFirst has really made, especially recently. Let me show you this commercial that AmFirst has produced within the last few months. This ad spot was created entirely using local creatives right here in Birmingham. From the lighting to the cameras to the music that was designed by Adam Wesley himself, who has been on the show. Drew Colner was the director, who has also been a guest. Next Level Films, Kyle Roberts, who's also been a guest, was the main DP, and there were many, many more. Um, I really am excited again to partner with an organization that's helping tell the stories of creatives right here in Birmingham. But AmFirst is more than just a storyteller. AmFirst is part of the story. They themselves employ and work with and partner with creatives right here in Birmingham. So again, thank you to AmFirst. Thank you to their support for this podcast, and thank you for their support of the Birmingham community at large. Now, back to the conversation. Check it out.
Growing up, I was an athlete, specifically softball. I played it for 13 years. I was a catcher. Um, I had a couple of colleges looking at me, and then I blew out my knee and I tore my shoulder my junior year in high school. So it took me out of the game.
Okay.
Um, and so my senior year in high school, I was like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. At first I thought that I wanted to be in front of the camera and be an actress. My um granddad on my mom's side was a film actor in the 70s. He did, well, I say film, he did film, but he also did TV. He was a supporting actor in some of the episodes of Dukes of Hazzard and stuff like that. And then my aunt, also on my mom's side, is a professional theater actress, so I kind of come by it naturally.
Hmm.
Um, and so I out of high school, I knew that I wasn't mature enough to take college seriously. So I kind of just like I worked at the Stardom Comedy Club for a little bit. And then I was like, I really want to get into acting, theater. So I reached out to my aunt, and she put me in touch with Janelle Cochran, who is a legend in Birmingham, and who I owe my career to, basically. Um, she just I reached out to her, and she just so happened to be working on a project in Birmingham, a movie. And that was news to me. I had no clue that movies were made outside of California because I was naive.
Yeah.
Um, so I emailed her, and she emailed me back, and she was like, "Hey, come down. I'd love to meet you." So I went down. She was the casting director, and we kind of hit it off right away. And she kept me on as her intern. I ended up getting cast in the movie because the director, I was doing stand-up comedy at the time, and the director found out and was like, "Well, let's throw you in the movie." Um, but I realized that working behind the scenes was really cool. I had no idea what that meant or what the levels were or how you got, from A to B. But I knew that I wanted to keep working behind the scenes. So Janelle, thank Lord love her, passed my name off to a couple of commercial producers locally. And so I did commercials for a while, and tried my hand as a production assistant in various departments, which was really helpful, and has helped me, I think, better, but be a better AD because now I know kind of how these departments work. Um, and it was in that where there's a website called Staff Me Up, and I saw a job posting on there, and I was at this point just applying to anything that said production assistant. I was like, I can figure it out. Just want to work. And they called me and they were like, "Hey, we really want you to come work on this, but it's in Los Angeles." And I was like, sick. And so my good friend Connie uh lives out in LA. Well, lived, not anymore. And she was like, "Come on, you can stay with me and my husband." And so I was out in LA for 4 or 5 months working on 2 reality shows.
What year
Um,
would this have been?
this was 2000. So I graduated from high school in 2008. I started on Lifted in 2009. So that would have been 2011 that I was
Okay.
out in LA.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I went out there. I was in the transpo department, and I was like, great, I'm going to be driving a pass van on streets I do not know. It's just this Southern girl. Um, and it was very much a culture shock for me, going out there first because I wasn't, um, kind of comfortable in who I was as far as like what my career looks like. I was just this little Southern PA out in LA. And so I didn't have the confidence that I now have. But it was certainly eye opening. I made connections and it was a great experience. I was certainly ready to come home. Um, and then it was shortly after that where I got a call, to be an office PA on a movie that was filming up in Muscle Shoals. And now most everybody knows that I hate being in the office. So being an office PA it was short lived. Um, but I was in the office truly for a week, and then the cast assistant was out of town that weekend. And so they asked me to take over and take care of uh, our number one on the call sheet. And so I did. And then by the end of the weekend, the first AD had called me into his office and he was like, "Hey, we want to go ahead and promote you to second AD." And I was like, "Great, let's do it." And then immediately, as soon as he closed the door, and he was like, "Great, we'll see you Monday." I turned around and I Googled what does a second AD do because I had no clue. Um, I didn't even know, like, I was still at a point in my career where I was like, people were asking me, "Well, what do you want to do long term?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Um, but then once I caught my footing in being an AD, and I was trained by a great AD out of, at the time she lived in New York. Her name's Jane. She was an incredible mentor when it came to being an AD. Um, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. So that kind of started my trajectory of being in the AD department. And I second AD'd for several years, and really worked a lot in Mobile. That was from like 2013, really kind of up until 2018. Mobile was a hot spot for films, and it's because they were catching a lot of the overflow from New Orleans. which was great for us. And we were
Yeah.
just, cranking movies out left and right. And then it was in those years where I would do like, would kind of gradually move up to being a second AD, which is fine. And I love being a second AD, but again, it's office and paperwork. And I'm like, please, I just can't. Um, and then I would say probably around 2018 is when my first AD career kind of took off. I landed a job in upstate New York in Glen Falls, um, to first AD a project. And that was really kind of a moment where I was like, this is this right here, because I had been a second for so long, and I even second AD'd probably for 4 or 5 years. And then firsting, I was like, this is where I want to be. Now being a female first AD is about 10 times harder. Just because uh we're in a position where we have to be firm in things. We have to keep everybody safe. We have to run the entire show. And oftentimes, unfortunately, when women need to be firm and stand their ground, it comes across as um women often get called the B word when they're
Yeah.
doing things like that. Even though it's a part of our job. Whereas if men are doing it in that position, they're really good at their job.
Yeah.
So there's a very fine balance that I think that I personally have to maintain, in that we're at work. We all have come together to make this movie. We have a job to do. Let's do it. Let's take it seriously, but we can also, you know, have fun while we're doing it. We're not curing any sort of disease. We are not solving any sort of problems. We are making something that will provide entertainment to someone for an hour and a half. Um, and then so anyway, I've been a first AD truly since about 2018, 19. And it has been, I'm currently on a project. This is my like 53rd, 52nd, 53rd movie overall.
That's
And
wild.
like, yeah, it's crazy, but it's, I mean, it has its, I certainly wake up every day and I'm like, what am I doing? Um, because what we do is wild and crazy, but
Let me touch on this idea of like women in the workplace a little bit.
sure,
Obviously, I personally wouldn't know much about
sure.
that myself,
Yeah.
but I was raised by a very strong, powerful woman, my
Hmm.
mother, and she was very much referred at times as the B word.
Yeah.
I'm sure at work, and I know personally multiple times that
Yeah.
I've heard her even reference herself as that,
Sure.
as almost reclaiming that title and making it
Sure.
something that she could be proud of in some ways. Because she didn't take things off of other people, and she
Right.
did stand her ground, and she definitely took leadership roles and ran with them. And to be honest, I just think more and more people need to grow up around or be raised by women like that,
A
just
100%.
just to
Absolutely.
normalize it a lot more, because it's
Yeah.
the times that I've worked under women that are very similar to the way my mother was. I used to work in education, and I had a few principals along my journey that were female principals, and most of the time, a female principal is somebody who is very strong and
Right.
and makes like when they walk into the room,
Sure.
and I know of other people that would have had conflict with somebody, or had conflict with those women in those positions at times for various reasons. I found it like, oh, this is like being at home. It's
Right.
like I'm
Right.
being
Right.
told what to do by a woman. Like that's the way I was raised. Between my
Right.
mom and my sister, that was the three of us were the household, and I was the youngest, and quite
Right.
often times led around and told what to do. So yeah, I think more and more people need to be raised like that.
Oh,
I think I'm better
absolutely.
for it. I hope so. Um,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's really neat that that you, first of all, have accomplished all that you've been able to accomplish in your career, and gosh, 50+ films that
Yeah.
you've been able to be a part of, and then the fact that you've traveled to L.A. and New York and probably all over
Yeah.
elsewhere, and yet I think it's so awesome that Birmingham is where you call home, and not only call home, and we'll get more into this in your story,
Sure.
but I feel like you've also invested in, you've laid down roots here in Birmingham. So congratulations on the success,
Thanks.
and props to you for all that you have done in the Birmingham creative community. So let's talk a little bit about Maggie Ballard. I keep saying I want to say Ballard because I
I
think
know
that's
people
what
do it all the time.
I've been saying it in my mind as
Yeah.
I've researched. So Ballard, I've got to make that switch. So I
Yeah.
apologize if I end up saying Ballard by mistake. So first of all, I will say this: I dig into social media on people.
Sure.
I will say that you were a tougher nut to crack, so to speak. You are a little less post heavy
Yeah.
on your socials. So I understand that. It just made it
Hmm.
harder for my job. So I don't have,
Sure.
I try to find really young pictures of people. I don't think I could find any, like, I was hoping for like a grade school picture, or, when you're a teenager, with some crazy filter that you might have thrown on there.
Right.
I don't see as much of that from you as I was like hoping to dig down and find. But anyway, let's talk about you in general. Where did you grow
Sure.
up? What's your origin story? Tell me a little bit of maybe even what flickered that. Well, you talked already a little bit of your family's background that sort of
Sure.
maybe inspired a little bit of the film. But was there anything else in your childhood that kicked that off?
So born and raised in Hoover. I think that my entire family, I'm the oldest of four. Um, I think that my entire family would peg me as a very unpredictable goofball. If it tells anybody anything, I was voted in senior year in high school. I graduated from Hoover High School in 2008. I was voted most unpredictable by the senior class. If that tells anyone anything about me. No, I've always been a goofball. Um,
I feel
and
like the oldest is usually, especially oldest of four, that's usually the one that everyone like gets led around by. Like I feel like that's usually the most straight laced one of all.
oh boy.
And how you
Yeah.
sort of broke the mold there, right? But at the
Yeah, I
same
think
time, your job seems like you are like you keep you're sort of the glue that keeps everything together. You're what makes things happen. I mean, you talked
right.
already about you got to be that person on set that's like you got the hard fast rules. So
Right.
in that way, you seem like you're leaning more into that first child, oldest child kind of a narrative. But
Yeah.
then with the goofball, it sounds like you're more of that baby or middle child sometimes.
I am my whole so I've always been a leader. Kind of a natural born leader. But in that I've also been a real big silly goose. Um and oftentimes growing up was the one that made decisions and choices that were not smart, not wise. I only did it so that my siblings would know not to do it, obviously. Um,
Obviously, just trying to teach
yeah,
them.
right. God forbid I teach them.
Right.
No, but I've always been a leader. Um, but that's like I said, I'm also just a really big silly goose. And so I've always think about there was a time that my mom has talked about before when I was a kid, like uh, young, maybe 8 or 9, and my granddad, the he was an actor. He had the reason why he didn't act anymore is because he had a stroke.
Mm.
Um, but he had a cane that kind of in my little child brain I imagined it was a microphone. So I would gather everyone, my grandma and my granddad and my parents, and I would do the best Elvis Presley impersonation that I could muster to Hound Dog. And so I was very performative.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to say, like, I don't now at 36, I'm like, I don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want all eyes on me. But back then I certainly did. And I think that that's why I really wanted to like be an actress because I also was like fame and fortune. And now I'm like, ew, because I
Yeah.
have to work with fame and fortune all the time. Um, but I think that I was always very disciplined in sports. And it wasn't until that was kind of taken away that I was able to really explore the creative roots that were in me and are in me. And I think that's really what kind of sparked it. So, unfortunately, like I lost something that I had known my whole life and that I had worked really hard for, but in that I gained an incredible career.
Would you say what would you say maybe that really translates well from your experience in softball and that discipline and the coaching you received, and sometimes some kids might say even the torture you went
Right.
through? How what do you see translating from that to what you do now?
Discipline for sure. Because it's almost like now I'm the coach and I've got to, you know, run the plays if you make sure that my team knows how to run the plays.
Yeah.
Um, and so certainly the discipline carries over absolutely. And I was often like the team captain, so again, leading, um, which translates into exactly what I do. Um, yeah, I mean,
I
I
would
think
imagine teamwork in general. I mean, and don't let me speak for you, but I know my opportunities that I've had to be on sets much smaller, obviously, like uh, social media content kind of sets.
sure,
So we're
sure.
talking much smaller scale, but what's always been great are those behind the scenes moments, that the sort of team that you end up working with, whether it's another camera operator or whether it's
Right.
somebody that's there as like a producer or director, and just getting that camaraderie amongst
Absolutely.
coworkers or just people that you get to collaborate with. Not to mention seeing the results of that, which is the final product.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
how's that been as far as like comparing it to trying to achieve a state title versus
Oh, that's
and
a bitter
did you
topic for
ever
me.
achieve a state title? Uh,
Oh,
Hoover's known for that to
I
some
know,
degree,
I know.
especially in
We
the early 2000s.
oh gosh, I know. God, dagger to the heart. Um,
Sorry, I didn't
no, it's
mean to go
fine.
sensitive on you.
It's fine.
People do
Um,
cry on here, so if you do, it'll be okay.
no, my last season, we lost in the semifinals to Vestavia.
Mm,
It was
mm, those
I
rebels.
see the play happen. I think about it often. I'm like that whatever. If I say more, the person will know what I'm talking about, and then I just can't.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
um, but yeah, teamwork, absolutely. And it's also, so like within the AD department, there's anywhere from 4 of you to 20 of you, depending on the size of the budget and what's happening that day. But I have put together a great little team just within the AD department alone. Some of them have been with me for a decade. Um, and I always, if there's an open spot on my team or if there's a day where I need additional players, I always give somebody a chance because if somebody hadn't taken a chance on me 17 years ago, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about it. So I always, and then it's up to that person on whether or not, they want it or not, because I can teach you all day long how to do the job. I can't teach you to want it though.
I agree with
Um,
that.
and that's, kind of the same thing when it comes to sports is like I can teach you the plays. I can teach you how to catch a ball, but if you don't want to be here, you're not going to give it 100%. So,
I imagine quite a few leaders have crossed over from softball to some other type of arena, and so much of those skills and background and sort of training translates into so many areas of life. It
yeah,
seems like so.
absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about your creative journey a little bit. I want to know like what I mean. You talk about this creative, I guess, instinct that you had to tap into after softball was gone.
Right.
Um, Talk about how that has been shaped through your journey. And AD, I don't think a lot of people, first of all, a lot of people don't know exactly what the role of AD is
Sure.
and where creativity always comes into play with that. So explain a little bit of that, at least your view on first of all, what is an AD, and maybe even what a second AD is, because I don't know that I can actually
Sure.
define that.
Sure.
And then talk about that, like where does creativity really play into that role?
Sure. So to start out on set is a set PA. And I tell people all the time, you do not have to want to be in the AD department to be a set PA. A set PA gets you on set, and then you can from there be like, hey, I really want to explore X, Y, and Z. Great, let's figure out how to do that. If you want to go the AD route, generally, it's a PA. And then sometimes it's second, and then second, and then first. Sometimes it's second, then first. You kind of skip the second part. Nonetheless, a second AD is my right-hand person on set. They are the ones that are in charge of placing and directing the background. They help delegate to the PAs. They have some paperwork at the end of the day, which is the production report, which kind of covers everything that we've done for that day so that producers and whoever can see, oh, great, we've done this, we haven't done that. But their main job really is placing and directing background and really communicating with the director. So creativity plays in there because like you kind of get to paint how the background look. Of course, conversing with the director of like what he or she wants, but really it's kind of like your playground. And that's what I tell my second Charlie. I'm like, dude, you paint and then we'll tweak. Second AD is the one that's generally at base camp, which is where your hair and makeup, costumes, and actors are getting ready. They are running that. Generally, they have a base camp production assistant with them who's kind of in charge of moving actors from point A to point B. But they are the head of that world. They are also kind of the go-between from cast to set. So they are the person that cast contacts for any sort of if they need anything. They are also creating the call sheet for the next day. So that's certainly more of a office role. I mean, I suppose you could get creative with it by maybe decorating your office, but it's certainly more like paperwork, communication.
Let me interject real quick.
Yeah.
So going back to the second, hello, AD. Sorry.
Yeah.
I When you talk about painting the background, are we talking like moving items in and out? Are we talking about directing background characters? Are we talking
Yeah.
like what exactly does that look like some cases?
Sure. So generally it is uh the human beings, the
Okay.
background
Yeah.
players. They if I've got a scene where I'm on a street and I need it to feel like downtown New York. Downtown New York. What am I talking about? If I need it to feel
All of New
like
York.
all of New York, if I needed to
Yeah.
like New York City,
Yeah.
busy and bustling, then my second is going to take those people and make it, even if
Tell
we
them
only
what to
have,
do. Yeah.
right, exactly.
If you're in a
Um,
diner, it's like telling these people, "Hey, I want you to actually eat," or these people, "Listen, don't eat, just do this." Like you are just
exactly.
coming in and sitting down. Okay, I got you.
Exactly.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm putting it together. Sorry, I'm building the plane while we're flying it.
No, 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 you're fine. And my second, Charlie, he is just pretty incredible he's really got an eye for that kind of thing. So when I say I let him paint, I'm like, just,
Yeah.
you create the scene, the background scene, and, we'll tweak if we need to.
It's so neat because I think of movies, and I'm sure there's been projects that have done this, but you have like background characters
Hmm.
that there's almost like a whole nother story. I mean, in the story of life, there
Yeah,
are really background characters to all of our stories that have their own story. Like they're
100%.
they
Yeah,
are they're their own main character in their own story. So it's really neat to think of somebody going back there and trying to put together like this small little narrative that's just an accent to this other narrative, right, for the
sure.
moment. But in some ways, you could mess that up in
Right,
some ways, or
right.
you can make it like you can nail it. You can make it beautiful, to the point that people are like, "I want to know what's going on over there." Like what's
Exactly.
more
Yeah,
of that story?
right. Um, yeah, so there's no role on set, on camera or off camera, that is not absolutely crucial to making a movie.
Yeah,
And I tell people, it's, that theater saying there's no small parts, only small actors. And that is true for behind the scenes as well. It may not be glamorous, and I think a lot of people think that making movies is glamorous. It's not. It's
yeah.
it's long hours, it's hard work,
You're in the
and not
elements so many times. Oh
exactly,
gosh, I can't
exactly.
imagine.
Um, so I think that's a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're working with Hollywood actors," and I'm like, "Yeah, who get on my nerves all the time." You know?
I can only
Um,
imagine.
yeah, but I mean, I've worked with some incredibly talented actors who are also
Yeah.
very kind and very grateful for, and who also acknowledge, like, I am here because of my fans. And, then there are some people who maybe aren't quite as well known, who are really problem children.
Yeah. I
But
can
anyway,
imagine.
yeah.
As in every other industry, you have people like that too, right? People that are all the
Yeah,
way at the top that are the most humble, kind, gentle, caring people, and then you
yeah.
got people that you're like, who are you? But yet they literally think they're king of the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, tell me this: what's your trick for working with people? To sort of either help your people that are dealing with that, or
Mhm.
just to sort of like be the kind, supportive person on set. In general, what's the trick to helping your team cope or help your team be that like pleasant experience?
I have handpicked some pretty wonderful people who are on my team who all have the same kind of temperament. They're all very obviously very unique in their own way, but they all have that same sort of temperament. So I have placed people in positions where if an actor were to get, you know, ugly, they're going to be met with kindness. My second AD is about as sweet as southern sweet tea. Brianna, she's great. I almost said her name wrong and she would have gotten me. I've known her for a decade and I call her name is Brianna, but I have called her Brianna, and it wasn't until like 30 minutes ago that she corrected me. And she was like, "It's actually Brianna, but it's fine."
That's
Um,
so funny. Okay, so you feel my pain then with Ballard.
oh, 100%. Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
I
It got
expect
to the point where
grace
I was
then.
like, yeah, yeah. It got to the point where I just like called her by her last name. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't mess that up. But um and they all know how I operate, and they also know that I will always have their back. So if if an actor or anybody, if an actor or a crew member is giving them a hard time, straight to me and I'll solve it.
Yeah.
I used to be really timid, or hesitant rather, that I didn't want to, muddy the waters or disturb anything. Like I was afraid, I don't want to say to be confrontational because it's obviously not confrontational, but afraid to be like, hey, we're not going to do that. And now that I have kind of gotten over that hump of, no, this is my job and this is how I have to keep things on track. I'm more like, I don't care. I'll go toe to toe with anybody, especially if it comes to the safety and well-being of somebody else
Yeah.
or safety in general, or like we're just not gonna. We recently had an actor who was less than pleasant with me, and I was like, I met him with kindness because that's all you can do. You internally, you want to be like da 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 da, but you can't.
Right.
And so it's internalizing the moment and then um venting to your team later is
Yeah.
what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I've always, even when I was in the classroom, something that I've always, I'm going to use the word preach, but also
Sure.
tried to apply to my own life is humility and grace.
Hmm.
You know, like we all need to be humble enough to understand that we're not perfect and
Exactly.
that we mess up and that we can be wrong at times in our behavior or in the work we're doing.
Right.
And so we need grace. You know, we need to give
Hmm.
ourselves grace to fail and mess up and get up and try again. And then we hope for grace from other people when we mess up. But more than all of that, I feel like we also need to extend grace to others to be the same way that we humbly acknowledge ourselves to be. You know, everyone
Absolutely.
else is the same way. We're all trying to make it. We
Yeah.
all make mistakes. We all have room to grow and learn. And
Right.
if we can practice humility and extend grace, I feel like the world in general and the workplaces or the sets can be much better places.
Oh, absolutely. There's a quote that says we're all just walking each other home. And
I like that.
yeah, I kind of live by that because I mean, listen, there are people who you're just not going to get along with. But at the end of the day, we all have a job and we have to put that aside to do the job. We
Yeah.
don't, and I stress to people all the time, you don't have to, we don't have to be best friends here, but we do have to respect each other and be kind enough to one another to get through the day. Because what I do not, and my team knows what I do not tolerate. I don't tolerate any sort of yelling, especially at each other, or anyone, because that is not productive. Um, and I don't tolerate any sort of like cattiness. Like I don't. This
Yeah.
isn't.
Just
We've
like
all graduated.
sarcasm and yeah, like especially
Well, I
dirty
mean, I
sarcasm.
am like I am like the most sarcastic person on the planet. So I really have to like
Well, snarky
um
kind of comments that can end
right,
up
like
being, yeah,
catty is just not helpful.
yeah.
Anything that could feel like a personal attack is
Mm,
not at all allowed on my team. Um and my team knows that and they're
yeah.
all of them are wonderful.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
All right. I want to pull up. I think I've got, well, I may have lost it. Dog it. I just had this pulled up. There we go. I've got your the Facebook page, I
Oh
think,
yeah, dear grandma.
for it. Yes. If I can pull this up. Tell me where this is in the production, because I know I've seen like you went on the news.
Yeah.
I mean, has this been finalized? Is this still in post production right now? Has
So
this
I'm
gotten hung
actually
up?
yeah,
Uh,
I'm still in the fundraising side of things and
okay,
I get in my own way with this project because that is my grandma and she
right.
was my hero. Um And so Dear Grandma is a short sort of love letter to her. She passed away from Alzheimer's in 2014, and so this is sort of all of my memories of her. I've had a meeting with the Alzheimer's Foundation. They're 100% like, as soon as it's made, send it to us. But I also, the second that I hit any sort of like roadblock with funding or anything of that nature, I I stop, not because I get defeated, but because I'm like, okay, I'm not going to push or rush this because I want it to be done correctly. And so if that
Yeah.
means it sits, you know, until the time is right again, then it sits, but I won't. And I've had friends who are like, "We'll come do this for free." And I'm like, "That's great, and I appreciate that, but
Right.
I don't want that. I don't want anybody working for free, especially on on a project that I care so much about, and that would be essentially my directorial debut. I And that's so near and dear to my heart. And maybe it's because I need somebody else to kind of like take over the fundraising because it is so personal to me that I can't kind of get out of my own way. Um, but I also just firmly believe that when it's meant to be made, it'll be made.
Yeah. I was, I talked about my mom earlier that
Yeah.
raised, that I lived with, but I had a grandmother. We called her Mama Hotch was her
Oh,
name,
nice.
and Mama, she was definitely a rare one, which I think that generation seems to be still.
Right. Yeah.
So much of them, but it's always neat ways that we can honor them and
Hmm.
sort of carry their legacy forward. So I think this is really neat, and I would encourage you be be okay with it taking a while.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
with this story having to work itself out. She wasn't built in a day. Your
Right.
grandmother.
Right.
I mean, it took years and probably tons of influences to make her what you knew her as. And I would
Absolutely.
say the same about Mama Hotch. One simple way that me and my kids still honor her. My kids, most of which didn't know her. My twins, they're the oldest, and they're 18 now, and they knew her. They were babies, so they didn't really
Sure.
know her. But she held them. She never got to hold my son or my youngest daughter. Um, but we used to go bike riding on the trail, and anytime we passed under a tunnel, my kids would scream out, and they still do this,
Hmm.
"Mama!" And then the other ones would answer back, "Woo!" It
That's
was
awesome.
when I was a kid. That's how we would step outside and we'd scream for Mama Hotch, and
Yeah.
we would stand at the door of her house because we were hungry usually,
Yeah.
and we would holler, and she would be on her property somewhere trimming hedges or doing something like that, and she would answer back, "Woo!" It's the
Oh, I
most
love that.
efficient, simple kind of southern, answer
Yeah.
back that traveled anywhere on her property. You could hear her, so
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
incredible.
I
So
love that.
keep
Yeah.
the memories up, keep those sweet moments that you remember with her,
Yeah.
and share them when it's right, when you feel like it's
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, congratulations on that. I just thought it was really neat as I was coming through some of your social media. I came across this, and I was like, it's just a beautiful testimony to the power of a grandmother
Yeah.
and the impact that they make. So, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that lady was my hero, and that's why I'm fine with it, not happening right now. I'm not gonna rush it because I want to do it justice, and by doing it justice means I'll wait until it's time.
Yeah, it looks like you've got a great team that's sort of built around it.
Yeah.
Some really heavy hitters, local heavy hitters. So
Yeah. Yeah.
props on that. We know you
Thanks.
can rally the troops. So whenever the time's right, I look forward to seeing the final product.
Thanks. Yeah.
No. Well, let's talk about this then. We've already talked about set life a little
Mhm.
bit. You've been, I actually mentioned Get Out to my wife. And my wife, first of all, hates horror movies.
Yeah.
She usually doesn't watch a ton of movies anyway. She oftentimes, what she likes is rom coms, or she likes medical stuff, so she's
Mhm.
watching the Pit right now. Like she
Oh my
loves
god, that
that.
show's so good. That
Yeah, she
show's so
loves it.
good.
She's been watching that on a regular basis. Like we've blown through season one, and now she's left me and gone on, and I think she's halfway through this current season. So,
Yeah.
um, but I mentioned to her, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be talking to this lady tomorrow," and she was part of Get Out, and she immediately like froze, like she was doing laundry or something, and she froze, and she was like, "Wait a minute, let me tell you." She feels that movie. Like she didn't love it, obviously,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
like this horror. It's horrible, sort of racial
Yeah.
kind of background to it. But it struck her. Like it's still, and she watched it one night by accident. I think I don't remember
Yeah.
what she was doing. I think she was in Birmingham in a hotel because she had to be at work the next day and it was supposed to snow that night or something. You know how Alabama is.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
shuts down if there's a flake of snow. And so she went ahead and got a place downtown, and I think she somehow watched this movie, or maybe there were people staying with her and they watched it, so she
Sure.
had to. But anyway, but it struck her. So that one's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Talk what's been like one of your favorite projects that you've been able to work on, and what made it that for you?
Um, gosh, let's see. Hmm.
Is that like picking your favorite child? Because I can do that if I have to.
No, it's more one that comes to mind was a movie actually that we did last year called Double Scoop, and that was a Hallmark
Yeah.
movie. And I've worked gosh, 4 or 5 times now with Peter Sullivan, who's a phenomenal writer and director, kind of in the Hallmark Lifetime world.
My wife would love those. Every Christmas, she makes me watch all the Christmas Hallmark stuff.
My mom is the
So,
exact same way. I think my
yeah.
mom has like a shirt that says this is my Hallmark movie wearing shirt or something. I don't
They
know.
did like a
But
Hallmark cruise. Did you see that?
yeah, yeah,
That's
I know.
that's that's beyond me. I don't. I there's no way.
I
So
think they did like a Christmas convention this year up in St. Louis. I don't know,
yeah.
but um yeah, the Hallmark fans are something else. But we did a movie called Double Scoop last year. The cast was phenomenal, just so humble and kind and gracious. Um and there was a lot of farm animals involved. So like I got to hang out with cows and like
Okay.
baby cows and baby whatever. And there was a whole petting zoo there one day because it was all
I
part
know
of the
you're a
movie.
big dog fan based
Huge
on
dog fan.
social media.
Yeah,
You've rescued quite a few
I
dogs,
have.
it looks like. So
I
yeah,
have, yeah.
props to you on that. I'm a
Thank you so
dog
much.
person. So
Um, yeah, I'm a huge animal lover. So of course that was a lot of fun. But it also was just like a very good crew. We all really gelled well together. That's one. There was another one called USS Indianapolis, and that was a Nick Cage movie that we did in Mobile in 2015, summer of 2015. And the movie itself, like the hours were long, and for 2.5 weeks of the film, set was a mile and a half into the Gulf of Mexico on a barge.
oh gosh.
Yeah, so and I was running base camp on that movie, so I didn't have to be out there, but it was a lot of and there was like 17 cast members every day and 100 background, and all of them needed to look like they were from the 1940s, so it was a lot. But that was some of the most fun I have had with other human beings on a movie. Like that was summer camp for sure. Most of the stories are not safe for work, so I'll save them. But it was uh it was a lot of fun, and I got to work with some of my closest friends, and I made one of my very best friends in the whole world I met on that movie. So um that one was a lot like summer camp, and then Double Scoop was fun just because of the nature of things and the people involved.
I mean, this idea of set life, I mean, you're describing summer camp, which
Mhm.
is all the good vibes, right?
Right.
And then there's times where we've sort of alluded to being stuck in the elements, and I feel
Mhm.
like there's times where it's more like it could almost feel like prison.
Mhm.
So, like,
Very much so.
how do you what kind of tips do you have for surviving set life, like just making the most of it?
Um, oh God, because sometimes some shows are not warm and fuzzy, ooey gooey. It's like, oh gosh, I have to get up and then I gotta go to work. Um, and that's sometimes because of the nature of the movie. Maybe it's a very serious movie, so everybody else has a more serious demeanor to them. Um, the one thing that I could say is to never never take anything personal unless it is a clear personal attack, or if you
Yeah.
feel like somebody really is kind of out to get you. Um, because people say things just like off the cuff a lot, and it's out of frustration or time or lack thereof, or there's a million different reasons. Um, I've been guilty of it, so have other, people, but it's over and done with like 30 seconds later. Um, but to not take anything personal, but to also not lose yourself. It like if the movie is really dreary and whatever, don't let that melt into your world. Don't consume that sort of energy, but also know when to walk away. If you're on a project and you're like, "This is horrific. Like, this is now affecting my mental health. This is affecting my physical health," leave. I've had a
Hmm.
couple of people who have been on my team, or who have been on projects who are just friends of mine who have been like, "This is not good for me."
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. I've had to do it before because it has not been good for my mental health, and I don't like, leaving shows, but sometimes you just have to. Um, so know yourself well enough to be like, when enough is enough. Especially if there's any sort of like, I want to say abuse, but that's not the correct word. Anything that is just like, wow, this is really not who I am. This is not what I want in my life. That's okay. That's absolutely okay.
Yeah. Have you ever, this is sort of flipping that
Sure.
to more of the positive. Have you ever had a pinch me kind of moment? Like, have you had a moment where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm a part of this. Um,
So there were 3 moments. So I don't get starstruck, and unless Betty White comes down from heaven, I probably won't get starstruck, because I'm a big Golden Girls
yeah,
fan. But
she deserves that.
um, or if Britney Spears comes out of retirement, then that's obviously like a deal breaker. But
Okay. All right.
um,
Good luck with
but
that one.
yeah, thanks. um, but so there was a moment I was doing a movie called Trading Paint. I don't know if it's still called that now, but it was John Travolta and Shania Twain. And there was a moment where I had not seen Shania yet, and John Travolta, I was like, it's John Travolta, whatever. But something about Shania Twain, and I like grew up on her music,
Oh yeah.
90s, and it took everything in my body not to knock on her trailer door to invite her to set and say, "Let's go, girls." And I eventually told her assistant, like, at the end, I was like, "I really wanted to do this," and she was like, "Oh, you should have," and I was like, "Yeah, right." But when she opened the door, there was that moment where I was like, "Oh my god, I'm standing in front of Shania Twain."
Yeah.
There was another moment, I was doing a movie called Arkansas, which it may still be called that, I'm not sure. There was a lot of heavy hitters in that one. Vince Vaughn, John Malkovich, Liam Hemsworth was in it, and this was at the time when he and Miley were still married. And there was one day on set, I was walking just on set, and I hear somebody call my name, and I turned around, and it was Miley, and she had shown up and to surprise Liam, and she was like, "Do you know where Liam is?" And I was in my brain, I'm like, "What's happening?" Outwardly, I was like, "He's right over here." Um, that was wild and crazy. But I think the moment where I was like, whoa. So when I was working on Get Out, I don't know that any of us fully anticipated or expected it to be what it is now, or to be what
Yeah.
it even was then. Um, so Jordan Peele, who directed Get Out, he and I signed to the Directors Guild of America on the same day, which was pretty cool. But um, it got like when it started going number one at the box office, I was like, wow. And then when it was nominated for 2 Directors Guild awards, one for Best First Time Feature and one for Best Feature, um, with that nomination, all of the ADs are also nominated. Um, so getting an email from the Directors Guild being like, "Hey, you're invited to the DGA Awards because you're nominated," at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills. I'm like, "What is happening?" And I went and I ended up taking my little sister for her 21st birthday as my plus one. Um, and then hearing Get Out win and seeing your name like in front of all of the top directors and actors in Hollywood, just like up on the screen, was insane. That
That's
was an
so cool.
insane moment.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. First of all, I love the fact that most people aren't going to like rattle you much. You know,
Right.
most of these, because I mean, there's plenty other names that you could have rattled off, but the fact that Shania Twain is the
Yeah,
one that
I
really
know.
gets.
I
I
know.
get it. Hey, a child of the
Yeah.
'90s. My gosh, I mean, who was bigger? My mom went back and forth between Shania Twain and oh gosh, her name just escaped me. Red hair.
Jody Messina, Reba
No,
McEntire.
Reba McEntire. Thank you.
Yeah.
Why don't I know? I know Reba, but I couldn't think of her name for some reason. Anyway, those two women that I heard more of those two, and probably Tim McGraw
Yeah.
on my mom's radio growing up as a kid than anybody. So
Oh,
those
absolutely.
those were huge. But yeah, I would definitely have to pause a moment and collect myself if Shania Twain walked in right now. So
Yeah,
it'd be
I
pretty
know.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tell me what's next. What's upcoming for you?
So I'm currently on a project now. We filmed a couple of days last week and then we took a week off and now we're gonna resume filming for the next 2.5 weeks. Um, Sometime in March, the film Birmingham is gonna be doing a technical workshop, which I will be a part of. That'll be um a nice workshop for a lot of people. It's more hands-on and
Yeah,
like all the departments will be involved. Um, Hopefully there's some rumors of a couple more movies popping up, so hopefully I can jump on board those. And then I'll be doing an acting for the camera workshop from the AD's point of view up in Prattville in April. One of my favorite things is to teach people
yeah,
um and to I for a very long time have done like 2-day workshops at Chelsea High School, film workshops, and I really enjoy that and getting the kids involved. And some of them have gone on to be in the industry, and I've worked alongside of them, which is really cool.
What teacher is it that you work with at Chelsea?
Francie, her I can't
Is
remember
that
her name.
the theater teacher?
Yeah, Francie
Okay, yeah,
Gardner. I can't remember her last name.
okay,
Her new married last name right now, Prinder.
yeah.
Um, Pinder. Anyway, she's incredible. I've done theater with her. I've known her for almost 2 decades. Uh, so yeah, hopefully, like I said, I'm on a movie now, and then hopefully there will be one gearing up in March, and then I've got a couple of workshops I'll be teaching.
I had a slide on here, and I think it got dropped because I think it was. Anyway, the way I do my slides, sometimes I forget whenever I export it that I still have it hid. But anyway, I did a slide about Birmingham in general, and so
Sure.
you mentioned these classes that you do in Birmingham and beyond. But Create Birmingham, that's one that you recently did something with where you were doing PAs, right?
Yeah, it was a PA certification workshop, which was really great. We had it was sold out. There
Yeah,
was
I remember seeing it. I mean, it was just a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, we did that. What is this, February? We did that at the beginning of February.
Yeah.
And it had a really great turnout. And again, it was more hands-on. There was, obviously some soft skills being taught verbally, but then harder skills were being taught hands-on. And I think a lot of people walked away feeling really great about what they had learned. And have since put in a request to have more of them, which I think is great because we need to build up the local talent so that we can get, if there's two movies that want to shoot here at the same time, we have enough crew to fulfill those positions.
Yeah, that's been the trend that I've heard is that we've got like as far as like a full production, we've
Right.
got enough crew to run one
Yes.
well.
Right.
But once you go beyond that, it starts getting difficult to build enough just quantity of people that are skilled enough in those roles.
It does, yeah. I mean, once upon a time, there was a full crew in Mobile and there was a full crew in Birmingham. But, with strikes and COVID and everything, people moved to Atlanta
Yeah.
and, whatever. So we've lost a lot of talented crew. Um, to Atlanta or New Orleans or whatever, but, building that the crew base back up so that we can be able to take on more than one movie at a time, I think is so important and crucial.
What are your feelings about Birmingham and the creative industry here and even organizations like Create Birmingham and other organizations that focus a lot on film here?
Sure. I think that it's great, especially that Deshaun with the film office, the Birmingham Film Office, is really taking initiative to set up these workshops and these classes and whatnot to really help people, or give people a starting point, rather. Um, I think that the assumption from a lot of out of towners is that, oh, it's Alabama. What could they possibly know? And I think that time and time again, we have proven not only that we are some of the best, and I say that about all of the Alabama crew, um, the Birmingham crew and Mobile crew, and Huntsville, all of Alabama. I don't want to leave anybody out. Um, we have proven that, we're not just some redneck hicks who know how to shuck corn, like we
Right.
know what we're doing,
Yeah.
and we are good at what we do. And I think that that is slowly but surely starting to show up and become more evident. The movie that I'm currently working on, I think really probably has the most locals on it that I've worked with. And I think that I say that and then I look back and I'm like, does it? I don't know. But it if people, you know, really asked the right people, "Hey, what positions do you have? What positions do you not have?" They could fill an entire crew with some really incredible talent in Birmingham.
Yeah. I've enjoyed getting to just see even a sliver of that. When I started this podcast, I thought, I'll interview, 10, 15 people. Like we'll see how it goes. And it seems like it's never ending. I don't,
Yeah.
gosh, I can't even remember how many I'm up to now, but it's a lot. And I've started another season. So my numbers, I've started all over,
Yeah.
but it's a ton of people. And every time I meet somebody, it's like, I find out about five more, just from
Right,
that
yeah.
one person. So it's like constantly growing. I don't think I'll ever run out of creatives.
Absolutely
I mean,
not.
whether in film or graphics or
Yeah.
photography or music or theater or any of the other stuff, it seems like Birmingham right now, and I think this comes from a history of this in
Mhm.
Birmingham, but right now especially, it's just such a strong community in Birmingham right now among creatives
Absolutely.
and the collaboration and the partnerships just seems like it's getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, and it's awesome to see again you sort of giving back to it and sort of passing on your experience to the next generation. Not that you're on your way out by any
Sure, sure,
means.
yeah.
So, but tell me, who inspires you? And this can be people that you've worked with. This is a question that I always like to ask. Maybe it's somebody that you've worked alongside. Maybe it's somebody that maybe works under you, or that you've had an encounter with, or maybe it's somebody that you look at from afar and you're like, this is somebody that I have learned from or model something after.
Sure. I get inspired by people every day. Um, Everyone that's on my team inspires me in one way or another because I'm like, wow, they really taught themselves how to do that, or they just proved that they could do that. Um, and they didn't believe in themselves, or something like that. So I get inspired by all of them every day, and I adore every single person that's on my team. Um, I I mean, I get inspired by my friends, like my closest friends who are, who overcome stuff or who are going through a hard time and they're still showing up every day for themselves and for other people. Um, yeah, any person who continues to show up for themselves, any person who takes a chance on themselves, um, even literally, even if they have naysayers or they themselves, are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you can't do it," like those intrusive thoughts, but they do it anyway. Those people inspire me every day.
Yeah. Well, I can say that there's probably a lot of people that have been inspired by you as well, whether it's just fighting against the standard of that people set for people from Alabama, maybe,
Sure.
like you've sort of alluded to, or the pushback against a strong female person on set that takes
Right, right.
charge.
Yeah,
But I appreciate what it is that you have been a part of. I mean, the projects you've been a part of, the sheer numbers, really incredible. But then the fact of the quality of some of those projects that I've been able to see for myself, is pretty neat. And then the fact that you're giving back here in Birmingham, I admire. So
well,
thank you
thanks,
so much,
thanks.
Maggie, for joining me
Yeah,
on Creating Careers podcast today. It was really an honor to talk with you.
thank you so much for having me.